are coming to you live and bringing you different topics going on around the African continent. We'll start with the issue going on in Mali and talking about the unrest in the Sahel region. Most recently, more than 70 people were killed in an attack that went on in Bamako, which is the capital city of Mali. Over the years, the Sahel region has endured a series of unrest that threaten the lives of the people and the international community at large. Now, a recent attack went on in Bamako, which is the capital city of Mali. Ali Fad, who is an independent researcher studying at the University of Yildirim Beyazıt, Ankara, joined us to talk about this topic. Hello, Ali.
Hello, Ms. Bambola. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on. Would like to ask you a few questions on the issue going on in Mali currently. So what has been the response of the international community to the threat of terrorism in Mali?
Thank you so much for the question. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. And it's a pleasure to have Ms. Bambola here with us to discuss about the terrorism threat which has been going on in the Sahel for decades, most especially in Mali. First of all, I would like to give a quick concept, or let's say context, about how the terrorism in Mali has been escalating through the years. It started actually with the 2012 insurgency led by the Tuareg separatist group, let's not say jihadist group, whereby it is, we have Al-Qaeda and the ISIS, the so-called Islamic State affiliate, or let's say the pseudo-Islamic state known as ISIS, which has been operating in Mali since this 2012 insurgency. If you notice, I didn't say Islamic State because most people, they translate ISIS as Islamic State of Iraq and Levant or Iraq and Syria. But the media, translation actually has a lot to do in the media. When you translate as Islamic State, lots of people will be misunderstanding it as something Islamic. So we can say the so-called Islamic State or the pseudo Islamic State. So this conflict has been spreading rapidly since then. It has been affecting not only Mali, but also different countries in the region, like Burkina Faso, like Niger, like Sudan, and other countries. So in the last few years, most especially in 2023 and 2024, we have seen different terrorist attacks, which are like frequent deadly terrorist attacks, most especially by the JNIM, Jamaatul Nasr al-Islam wal-Muslimin, which has been operating in Mali. So yes, like you said, we also experienced the recent, I think it happened last week, September 17, in the capital of Mali, Bamako. This one that happened in Bamako is a very rare attack, because normally the JNI, it operates in the central and northern Mali, but the attack in Bamako is a very rare incident. So it has been continuing like this for so long, and the attack last week also called for a new at least perspective on the operations of terrorist threats in Mali. So now let's come to the international community initial response to these terrorist groups in the region, in the country since 2012. We have seen a lot of military, diplomatic, development focused initiatives by different countries from the West, by the UN. They are trying to, stabilize the instabilized, trying to stabilize the instabilized situation in the country. So we have MINUSMA, which is the organization or the development, the organization developed by UN to maybe provide development aids to Mali. Actually, but unfortunately, in 2023, MINUSMA also withdrew itself from Mali, like we know. We also have different countries like in the West, like France and other European countries, but currently I think they are withdrawn from Mali in request of the junta rule in Mali. So since we don't have France in Mali again, and also we don't have the UN currently in Mali again, so we can see that a new intrusion or a new interference has been in by the Russian Wagner group. So they are the one currently in Mali operating to counter terrorism. But I mean, the last week terrorism that has happened is also creating, I mean, a new question in the mind that's how effective is this Russian Wagner group gonna be in the region. So with that, I think since little by little, I think Africans are, I mean, Malians most especially, they're trying to push away all foreign hands from their country. Now they are actually trying to bring in African ownership of security responses. So I think Mali didn't only seek response from Russia. Other African countries, other African organizations, also like ECOWAS and AU, African Union, they're also trying their best also to, join hands together to work and try to organize some counterterrorism activities in the country. But like literally, despite all these interference, we still have some challenges going on in the region. Despite all these efforts, we can see that I think these interference are all going in the wrong places because people interfering from outside, they are not seeing the internal problems. So I think the only thing that I think can be done in this is to address the root causes of terrorism, such as maybe poverty, I mean, weak governance, and also like ethnic tensions. All these things are it continues to fuel recruitment into the extremist group. So when we don't look at these things, I think it's going to be really hard to counter terrorism in the country. Thank you.
All right, Ali, thank you. Just with the last statement you made, we are talking about how Malians as a group have been reacting to this. I just want to know, how has it been affecting the people at the grassroots?
How has it been affecting the people at the grassroots? That's a very good question. Yeah, of course, terrorism is going to cause, devastating situations for the people. Not only the people that the terrorists are attacking, but also the local people, the innocent people who are just looking for their livelihood. So it has really affected their daily life, a lot of, displacement, a lot of disrupted livelihood, limited access to essential services like education and healthcare. We have constant threats from terrorist groups all around. Farmers can't work because they're afraid to work because of the herders. I mean, the herders coming to attack them, taking their livestock and so on. So markets are unsafe and basic infrastructure, the government infrastructure, everything are in despair already. So because of this, we have a lot of humanitarian crisis, which is resulting to almost 8 million people seeking urgent assistance, whereas we don't have the UN already in this region again. So they are seeking urgent assistance, and also it is also causing, different problems like migration and so on, causing different burden for neighborhood African countries.
Thank you, Ali. Finally, what does this show or tell about our broader African security, especially in the global community? What does this say about us, like this current Mali situation?
Actually, this current Mali situation, if I may say, it is not only about Africa or not only about Sahel region. This situation is rapidly growing over the past decade, and it's turning into a major threat, not just for Africa, but for all the world. So it's actually a global security, not just a regional security. So this issue in Mali is affecting other Sahel regions or other countries like Niger, like Burkina Faso, like other countries that are instabilized already. We know, okay, they're also having their own internal problems. But what we should understand is that this is going to result in a weakened governance. And this weakened governance is going to result to military coups like we have seen also in other countries like Sudan, like Guinea, like other countries in Sahel region, it's causing political instability. So, and this is going to cause violence and chaos. Also, this problem is going to cause humanitarian crisis, like we know. So we have international community causing humanitarian crisis, like I said earlier, refugees going to other countries, causing burden for other surrounding countries and other countries. It's going to cause also a threat to other African coastal states. For example, the countries in the coastal states like Senegal, like Ivory Coast, like Ivory Coast, yeah, and also like Gambia. I think also we have countries like Ghana. All those countries we think maybe they are seen like maybe relatively stable, but with the current risk of attacks, the expansion can also threaten the security of these countries that we think maybe they are stable. So this is going to disrupt trade routes. It's going to disrupt investments. It's going to affect all those countries economically if a joint counterterrorism formation is not done in the region. And lastly, it's also going to cause an international security problem. So we already have the Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and so operating internationally. So if it continues like this, it's also going to cause different. It's going to make Mali a safe haven for extremists, for terrorists. So, and it's really going to cause more problems for the country and the region. So I think that is exactly what I think about the last question you asked. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ali, for your time and your knowledge. We hope to have you again on the channel.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Now we move to Tanzania, where the opposition leader Tundu Lissu was arrested on Monday as authorities sought to prevent a mass protest organized by his party, Chadema, in Dar es Salaam. Chadema is the major opposition group in Tanzania. Chadema accused the current President Samia Suluhu Hassan, of reverting to an oppressive method, despite initially showing signs of an open democracy. It should be recorded that Lissu, a long-time opposition figure, who survived an assassination in 2017, returned to Tanzania in 2023 after the ban on opposition rallies was lifted. Still, he was arrested in August during another protest. He wrote on his X page that 3 police vehicles full of officers in riot gears were outside his house. The leaders of Chadema were arrested on Monday, and further arrests were made on the streets of Magomeni area of the capital, Dar es Salaam, where protesters were gathering for a rally against alleged killings and abduction of government critics. This crackdown further extends fear of renewed political repression in the country ahead of upcoming local elections and next year's national vote. The Dar es Salaam chief had warned that the planned rally would breach the peace and his officers would be on ground to prevent it. Chadema accuses security forces of being behind the disappearance of several members of the group and killing a senior party official whom authorities have said was doused with acid and beaten to death last month. In Nigeria, the country struggles with a constant rise in the rate of criminal activities, from armed robbery to illegal raiding, kidnapping, and physical violence. Many Nigerians are too scared to even travel within the country. They are scared to leave their homes from one state to another for the fear of being kidnapped and being killed. An urgent and effective response to this is crucial. This is why we'll be discussing with Mr. Siddiq Oyelami, who is a PhD researcher at LGS University. He speaks to us about the current situation in northern Nigeria. Hello, Mr. Siddiq. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mercy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me on the program.
You're very welcome. So the history of banditry in Nigeria is a very long one. Can you give us an overview of the current banditry situation especially in northern Nigeria?
Well, as you know, like you said, the history of banditry is very long when it comes to northern Nigeria. However, when we look at it, it used to be a thing of intercommunal crisis, whereby we have the dominantly Norman ethnic group, which is the Fulani, and the other ethnic group, the Hausas, or those ones in the north central part. However, in a few years, in recent years, we have a very different dynamics of things, where we have these groups, the groups of the nomads, in a way of trying to protect themselves at first from the groups, like a counter gangs of the settlers, the farmers. They started to build up their own organizations and their own gangs, which later becomes what we call bandits today. It used to be a thing of cattle rustling. They steal from these people. Sometimes they raid their villages. However, today we have a very different thing, which is the issue of kidnapping, which has become a very serious problem in the national security discourse, especially when we look at the fact that we have very strong organizations, very strong gangs of these ex-nomads who now control some villages. In fact, in some cases, some local governments, that is some districts in the northern part of Nigeria, especially in Zamfara and Sokoto state. The worst that I've seen so far is the fact that many of these groups, like that of Dogo Gide and that of Bello Tuji, which are they should have more than 1,000 followers who are armed, by the way. They are trying to affiliates of international organizations like Al Qaeda and the likes. And since what is observable is the fact that they get their ammunition from these groups. Since 2021, where the leader of the terrorist group Boko Haram died, Shekau, we saw the transit of many of his followers from the northeast to the northwest, joining these organizations, and these organizations, that is the gangs, the bandit groups, banking on the support of the former Boko Haram leaders to raise money and use a strategy to buy ammunitions. And that's why we can see in Nigeria where we have a lot of kidnapping, especially in the style that we used to know with Boko Haram. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. You just talked about the Boko Haram issue, which is one that has been ravaging the country, and it's almost unending. We see that they've been kidnapping students from schools, ridding most children of the right to education. So I just want to ask, with Nigeria resuming school, with most students resuming school, especially in the month of October, how has this insecurity affected education in the country?
Thank you. I think many of the schools in the country resumed last week. And so far, we don't have any case of schools not resuming in any part of the country. I think naturally, the students or the parents who want education for their works are very resilient when it comes to
it seems we lost Mr. Siddiq there. We'll just move to Tanzania, I mean Rwanda rather, while we wait for Mr. Siddiq to come back. In Rwanda, the first set of vaccines, the Mpox vaccines, have been administered. We know that the case of Mpox in the African continent has become one that the international organization, the international community have been so big on trying to find a solution to the problems going on in the continent. and that these Mpox cases started from the DRC Congo, which is very close to Rwanda. The WHO has reported that nearly 30,000 suspected Mpox cases have been recorded in Africa so far, and most of them are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. We would record that the Democratic of Congo is going through a war that has persisted for the last 28 years. Across the continent, more than 800 people died of suspected Mpox in that time. Mpox is an infectious viral disease that can occur in both humans and other animals. The symptoms include a rash that forms blisters, fever, and a swollen lymph nodes. The ongoing Mpox outbreak is the latest test of resilience for the health sector across Africa. Funding the health sector in African countries is important to combat these types of emergencies. Innovations in disease surveillance and lab information systems are essential to monitoring and managing the spread of the virus. Over the years, funding for African health sector, especially the tech part, has declined rapidly, limiting their abilities to develop, test, scale potential, impactful solutions. So we join Mr. Siddiq again. You're welcome back.
Thank you. So as I was saying, so far we don't have any case of students who are not resuming school or any school from any state that is not resuming school. However, we should know that, especially with the trend of things, students being kidnapped from 2020, especially with the facts that we have in few months, we have medical students being kidnapped in Jos. We had that of Casino Kebi and previous months. It's not a Christian parent. However, so far, I think with the latest operation by the Nigerian Armed Forces, it's given a kind of morale to the students. However, we shouldn't just say that and forget the fact that with the fact that these terrorists, that is the bandits, they're trying to evolve into what we know of Boko Haram in the past. And if this evolution is an ideological one, then we should be afraid of the fact that they may be attacking schools. This is not to be a fearmonger, by the way. It's just for the country to be able to provide more security to schools. In 2014, back then when Boko Haram was at its peak, its schools were quite open and everything was going fine, except in the 3 states where we had the emergency rule. Apart from those states, schools were on and everything was going fine. I think if the country, if the government of the country can maintain such security as they did back then in 2014, 2015, then everything is going to go well in school.
Thank you very much, Mr. Siddiq, for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you. Last week, Rwanda began vaccinating people in high-risk areas against the Mpox virus. It is the first country to do so amidst a further rise in the cases of the infection. The Rwanda Mpox vaccine campaign focuses on 7 districts that border the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. Experts say that the outbreak is not under control and cases are rising. When the outbreak broke out this year, Morocco was the first country in North America to report an infection. And most recently, India has reported its first Mpox case. With that, we have come to the end of today's program. And if you would like to send us questions or contributions, kindly send them through our WhatsApp number, which will be on the screen. We would also like you to give us suggestions, send in your videos, and we'll broadcast them. Thank you very much again for watching, and it is still me, your host, Mercy Bamigbola. See you in the next one.